They're dying. Don't you understand me, Jared? They're dying. Every day, every hour, they're dying. You ride out there with me right now, and I'll show you a dozen new carcasses.
Nick, I know they're dying. Now, I have already told you. I filed a brief for an injunction with...
The devil with your briefs! We're talking about water for cattle.
Now, Nick, you listen to me. These things take time. He has to study the legal precedents. Now, you know Judge Lawson. He's a fussy old man, likes to chew an issue from all sides.
The cattle can't wait for a judge to chew issues.
I'm seeing him again first thing in the morning. I'm pushing him all I can.
Well, you better push him a little harder.
Judge Lawson. I was just coming to see you. Have you reached a decision on my brief yet?
Interesting, Jared. Extremely interesting. Yes. Under the common usage precedent, it would seem the stream comes under the heading of public right-of-way.
Well, then what you're saying is that Adam Howard had no right to dam up that stream.
Well, it would seem so, but there are certain gray areas.
What do you mean, gray areas? Judge, I dug up more than a dozen cases, surely enough to establish that...
You may be right, Jared. You certainly may, but I'll want to hear both sides in court.
In court? But that could take days, even weeks. Judge, you've got ample precedent to issue that injunction right now.
Well, possibly, but I'm from the old school, Jared. I believe a court should render decisions, not issue injunctions.
Judge, our cattle are dying right now, just as though they were being systematically slaughtered.
It's been a terrible drought, no question.
Then why can't you issue that injunction?
I've tried to explain to you, Jared.
And I think maybe I'm beginning to understand. Adam Howard bought that land and everything else he can get his hands on. Does that include you?
I'll take into account exactly how much you have at stake, Jared, and how overwrought you are.
We heading? See Howard.
Jared asked us to wait a couple of days. You said you would, Nick.
If you recollect, I said I'd think about it. And the more I think about waiting for Judge Lawson and now waiting for the court in Sacramento and then maybe waiting for the Supreme Court, I think it's best that you and Jared wait. I'll see to Howard. Come on, get it. Yeah.
Foley, I want you to check with the railroad about a spur for the new property. Olson, come on in. Smith, huh? Well, another Barkley. Wouldn't it save time if you all came down here at once?
I'd like to ask you a few questions, Mr. Howard.
I don't have to answer it, Mr. Barkley.
Well, you're gonna hear them anyway.
You're quite wrong. I have some business to discuss with these men. Now, will you please excuse me?
Well, I have some business to discuss with you, Mr. Howard. It's about water.
I've said all I'm going to say about that water.
Why are you doing this to us?
You ask your brother, Jared. Now, get out of here, Barkley.
What's Jared got to do with it?
Well, you heard Mr. Howard. Now get going.
I don't want any trouble.
Throw him in a wagon and get him back to his ranch. Then get down to that fence. He'll try to get his cattle through.
Oh, no. What's wrong? What's going on here?
Take him out the back way. Nothing to worry about, Mrs. Howard. Just a troublemaker. Everything's all right.
Mother, that man, is he dead? Look, Ma! Pa, outside in the hall. We saw him carrying a man.
Adam, I've got to talk to you. Now.
All right.
You should have seen it.
David, you promised Aunt Edith you'd write her a letter. Now, I want you to go into your room and do that right now.
I just wanted to tell Pa about the man.
I'll tell him. You write that letter now. When you're through, I'll look it over for mistakes.
Do I have to now?
Yes, David. Go write that letter.
All right.
Adam, that was Nick Barkley.
That's right.
You're trying to ruin a whole family. Tear down everything they've built because of Jared.
Because of Jared. Exactly.
Adam, you're wrong about Jared.
No more lies, Marcy. I got reports from a private detective just before we came down here. Reports that give dates, places, hotel registers that you both signed. Are they all lies, Marcy?
No. We met. I could never tell you why we met before now.
Well. All right, Marcy. Tell me.
I'm telling Aunt Edith about the drought, but I don't think I'm spelling it right.
D-R-O-U-G-H-T.
D-O-U-G-H. It still looks funny, but I guess I'll never be a champion speller. Look at it, Pa. Is it right?
Yes. Yes, Davy, it's right.
Look at my handwriting. That's getting better, too, isn't it?
Much better, Davy. Much better. Now go ahead and finish that letter.
I guess there won't be any horseback riding today.
No. No, I don't think so, Davy. Now go ahead and finish the letter. All right, Marcy. The truth. Go on. I'm listening.
I can't. I just can't.
When did all this start? I mean, were you in love with Jared when you married me? And then just went on pretending that everything was fine?
Adam, I do love you. You've made me happier than I ever thought I could be.
Oh, I don't believe you, Marcy. Not after those reports. You know how much I loved you, Marcy? Those 15 years with Cora were good years. But there was always something missing. A child. A son. When she died, I thought I'd never marry again. Then I met you. Beautiful Marcy. Young enough to be my daughter. And I fell in love. A wonder of wonders. A child. A boy. My son, Davy. I was a lucky man, wasn't I, Marcy? At my age, begetting a son. Someone to inherit my name. To take over everything I worked for. And I loved my son. And I loved you, Marcy, for giving him to me. But what did you really give me, Marcy? Some other man's child? Yes. Another man's child. Jared Barkley's.
No! All right, Adam, you wanted the truth. Now you're going to hear it. The whole truth. You were right. I did deceive you. At first because I was a stupid, thoughtless girl. But later on because I loved you.
All those meetings with Jared and you say you love me?
Jared's only part in this was to try and help me save my marriage, our marriage. I was in love with a man. A man who had no goodness, no kindness in him. And most of all, no love for me. When you went to London, I saw him again. But only long enough to say goodbye. To tell him that I was in love with my husband, Adam Howard. But it was a little too late for goodbyes. Because I was already carrying his child. Two years ago, he came to the house. He wanted to borrow some money. He saw David. He noticed the resemblance, and he knew. Then he wanted to borrow more than just a few dollars. I was so scared, I didn't know what to do. I said I'd get it for him. I wrote to Jared. I said, please meet me in Carson City. I need help.
And he just came running to help you, is that it?
He said, forget about paying the blackmail. And that I should come to you right away with the truth, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. There didn't seem to be any way out. Until Jared checked into his background. Found out that he was a wanted man. And he told him to leave the country. My last meeting with Jared was in Modesto. And he told me I was finally free of him. He'd gone to Mexico. That's the truth.
There was no other man. It was Jared.
Oh, Adam. No, Jared just tried to help me. Help us.
Now, I want you and your son out of here by the time I return. Do you hear me?
Adam, where are you going?
That's no concern of yours now.
Adam! Is shooting Jared gonna make you feel better?